whenever you would like. It's nice to have you with us. So today, what to talk about today? First, I'm going to tell you that I'm just going to look and see. When I woke up this morning, it was 23 degrees here, and it had snowed about 4 to 6 inches last night. Now it's 22 degrees and the wind is gusting. It is really cold here. And it made me think about something. I went and Googled Ukraine, and I wanted to know what their temperature was. And I saw that it was evening there and that their temperature was similar to our temperature here. And I thought, oh, God, with everything that's going on there, that there's also a temperature issue, that there's weather is a consideration, and it's cold and it's frightening. And it made me just think of our responsibility to humankind and life around us, all life around us, and wondering if we are astute enough to really step into the shoes that we need to step into to be taking on and being willing to take on the responsibility that we have towards other human beings and towards this planet. And I thought about it, and I thought, there are really only two ways that we can sort of support and shift the narrative and the reality around us. I mean, there are many little things, but two sort of conceptual ways. One is that we need to be activists in our life. And so for many years, many people thought, particularly around traditions such as Buddhism, that you wouldn't be an activist, you were a pacifist, and that you would be very sweet and removed and you would pray for everyone, but you wouldn't actually get in the middle of things. And that, of course, is not at all what most contemporary Buddhist teachers teach. They teach about the responsibility of activism as a spiritual being. And how is it that we can activate ourselves and our community and the global citizenship towards taking care of one another. And so I tried to sort of delineate it in my mind, just to sort of get my arms around it. And I think there are really two sort of threads. The first is that we should get involved. We do here with our Sangha, we're participating in Ukraine, we're participating in Afghanistan, we're participating in many parts of the world where issues are very current and topical, and they're needed to have attention given to them. And I know many of you are also participating in many different ways. I don't know if Britt Marie is on today, but she had shared with us a really beautiful way she was supporting Ukraine with Airbnb. And I didn't really follow into that, but it was a way of supporting business people there just to keep a money flow, cash flow. But there are ways that we can support using our resources to support those on the front line for healing and for whatever is needed. And it's not always just financial support. That, of course, is needed, but there are many other ways that we can support. I know people are packing up kits and things that are going to Ukraine that are being shipped by different nonprofits that are putting together care packages and whatnot. And the other way that we can be responsible is in using our energetic powers. So like the power of our prayer and healing group. So for instance, our healing group that meets just in cyberspace on Fridays from 8:30 to 8:41 for those 11 minutes on Friday mornings, that's a really great place to join in, because the more of us that are sitting in that with that attitude in that 11 minutes, wherever we are, we're connecting with one another. And what we're throwing out and throwing back into the universe is a collective consciousness of love and compassion and healing and prayers vis-a-vis one of us. So if you can sit wherever you are at 8:30 on Friday mornings for 11 minutes. And if you have an opportunity, light a lamp. That's fabulous. If you don't, you can sit in your car, you can sit in your kitchen, you can sit on your yoga mat, wherever you are, but consciously collecting ourselves together to send out prayers is really impactful and important. And the other is our new practice of our daily mantra, the Om Mani Padme Om. For those of you who have taken that up as a 40-day practice, that is sending those vibrations back into the universe. And we're going to do that, of course, every Saturday morning ourselves together. But it's something that you can also be doing. So these are ways that we can feel as though we're a participant in the solution or in the healing of what's happening on this planet in a humanitarian way. The second is through activism in our politics and policy change. I've just really been exposed to this a little bit lately and have come to understand more. I mean, so many higher level situations cannot be solved individually. They have to be solved through policy change, through government laws. We have to take a look at what we're willing to support and not support. And that means we have to start getting more involved in understanding which candidates are supporting the things that we think are really valuable in the way that we're structuring our system, how we care for people, how we send money places, all different ways that the government sets up our relationship with the rest of the world. And who elects our government? We do. So I think, it's easy for us to just sometimes say, well, I'm just one person, but we're not just one person, we're a collective. And it's important for us to be activists in our spiritual journey. So this not only is helpful to the outside world, but it also helps us. In this time, with so much going on around us, I think many of us feel a little bit ungrounded and like, what can I really do? Or maybe it amplifies, or it can amplify our own situations. We feel a little bit just low about life in general. And the way that we walk ourselves out of that is for us to start feeling empowered by how we participate in the healing of the universe. We get outside of ourselves and we start looking at what is our relationship to healing as a more global attitude rather than just ourselves. And then we can start living with what's going on with us in a little different perspective. So as human beings, we are conscious and we come with a consciousness. And if we're not using that consciousness, can we call ourselves conscious? Can we really say I'm a conscious human being, but I don't really want to be aware or involved or, participate in everything else? I'm just in my little bubble. Is that conscious? I don't know. I wonder. I mean, it's a question. Just because we can be, are we actually activating that in ourselves? As human beings, we need to look at our spiritual selves, and it's incumbent upon our spiritual being to participate in the process and the responsibility of living. We have to participate in the process and the responsibility of living. Staying inactive, quiet, withdrawn actually takes our experience of what's happening in our life and magnifies that. So if we're having a difficulty in our life, we feel even more drowned. But if we get out into the world and we start to see how it is that we are supporting the spiritual journey of this planet, we start to feel different. So it's a really healthy way for us to be involved. We want to be conscious. Awareness and consciousness is our gift. That's what separates us from the rest of what is life on this planet, is that we have consciousness where we're able to actually affect change. We take responsibility, we can affect change. So today, let's use our mantra chanting time to fully open our hearts into the world for those who are in need. And some of those may be women on our call today. It's not that the only ones in need are across the world from us. No, they're our next door neighbor. They might be ourselves, but we open our heart to that and it floods where it needs to go. Love is like water. It'll find the course it needs to go. You don't have to direct it. You just have to release it. So let's take our time in our mantra chanting today to imagine that that chant is being put into the world in a vibration with an intention behind it for love and healing and companionship for those on this planet who need it. And let it be absorbed by them. Let it go to those who need it. And that's one of the ways we can participate. Today, I wanted to briefly talk about, we talk about caring about human beings and the living of the beingness on this planet, but there's also the voiceless life around us, the environment. And there's so much to talk about the environment. I don't want to go on about it too much, except to say that you all know, I think most of you know, that one of the current mission of my teacher, Sadhguru, is to save the soil. And he was just on the Daily Show with this past week with Trevor Noah. And I was trying to get my arms around, like, what's he doing? He's going on this 100-day motorcycle trip across Europe on his way to India, and he's stopping and meeting in different countries with different people. And I'm like, but what's he doing? Like, I see where he's going, but what's he doing? And so I started really listening to all of the and reading all of the material that's been provided to us about this trip of his and why it is that he's taking this trip. And I just wanted to share that with you because I was struck by the notion that if we can't affect immediate change, we can sometimes feel paralyzed about being effective at all. So we just give up. But the way that Sadhguru is looking at this is that we need to raise awareness of the problem of soil, which is that we have a degradation of our soil across the planet. And it's showing up with many climate consequences and nutritional consequences. Today, you have to eat 8 apples to get the same amount of nutrient as you would have 50 years ago in one. I mean, we just can't even eat the bulk of what we need because we're growing food in soil that doesn't have enough organic material. Apparently, we need between minimum 3 to 6% organic material in our soil to make it fruitful for us. So he's going around the countries that he can travel through in this 100 days and speaking to individuals and governments with the notion that if we start to talk about a problem and we start to get educated about it, we are this catalyst for policy change. Until we start getting annoyed about something and say, this is not okay. I mean, they're projecting that in 2050, if we don't do something about it, the soil now, by 2050, we will not be able to grow enough food that's edible and useful to our body to feed the planet. So that's a problem that we have to take care of now. And there are ways to do it, but it's a global problem. It's not a country problem. It's a citizen problem. We're citizens of this universe. We have to join together. So he's working on awareness. He's signing petitions with governments and agencies and groups across these different countries to get a voice of the planet around soil. It could be around global warming. It could be, there's so many issues it could be. He's just taking on soil right now. And so I think for us to just imagine that we can speak about this. I'm going to share some on our weekly email. I'll share some links to some of the information, some of the data, and some of the videos, just to give you more background so that you can understand what the situation is and how you might want to voice it. And for us to be, I have been speaking with some friends who are involved in politics, and I'm like, who are the people in politics who are already involved in this sort of thing, and who should we be aware of and supporting and looking at as resources of information and ways to support them so that they can get this trend going of looking at this one piece of our environmental crisis. But we have to be activists in this. We can't just sit back and go hope somebody else does it. We have to be, this is part of our world, and our consciousness in this world requires that we step up in whatever ways we can to be a part of this. What else do I want to tell you about this? There's so many details I could tell you, but the most important thing is to share the information and to press our elected officials to write policy, ensuring that we have legislation around agriculture, how we use our land, to have a 3% organic matter in our soil. I have also something else that really interested me, that when I was looking into this, is there's a wonderful article written by the Columbia Climate School, and they have 35 ways to your carbon footprint. And I'm going to save that link as well in our email, that tells us ways that we can, in our lifestyle, and many of these I'm absolutely sure you're doing, but there are some that surprised me, ways that we can contributing to the well-being of our Mother Earth, the Pachamama that we walk on every day, that supports us every day so that she can continue to support us in the ways that we need, is important for us. Being spiritual means taking responsibility for life around us, as well as for our own life. That all things that are living are in our responsibility. It's not selective. We don't have just this group will watch over and this group we won't. It's bigger than that. And conscious living is a responsibility of ours to protect our Mother Earth. That's why we're here as spiritual beings, to be in cohabitation with Mother Earth. So we need to find this week. Let's look at some of these links that I'm sharing to be finding ways to be part of the solution. And let's pray and let's chant and let's add our voice into the mix of this healing that is so called for on the planet and in the hearts and in the minds and bodies of so many on this planet at this time.
Thank you, Nirmala. I think that, you know what, how I was raised, that in every breakdown is a breakthrough. Yeah, and we're facing tremendous breakdowns right now, and there are different breakdowns because climate change, soil problems, they are global breakdowns. But maybe they are also the path to a breakthrough that is so needed, that we think as one global family, because right now we think in nations, we think in separation. Yeah. And I think these challenges that come to the surface right now are maybe, you know, bringing us together, realizing that we are dependent on the oil in Russia or this and there. So realizing that there is no separation, that the separation that we're holding up right now is actually our downfall as humanity. So we have to become aware that we have to let go of all the divide. Yeah, because if we stay in the divide, we will not heal as humanity. And I wanted to share something about the activism, because I'm so for it. You know, I like to be a spiritual activist. And I also want to make us aware that we are not getting too active, which is because sometimes people go just into action and we send money to Russia, we do this, we do that, we do that. But some people do the action because that allows them not to feel. Yeah, that allows them not to be with what's going on inside of them. So I think with what's required of us as spiritual humans right now is to cover both the doingness on the outside, because resources are needed now in a lot of places. And I shared that yesterday in class. It will get more. We have to face that the next years. It will be more intense. There will be more, you know, migration and refugees and everything. So we need to step out and share our resources, but we also are required to sit quietly and feel and integrate and digest these situations. Because if we are not taking the time to digest and integrate what's happening out there, we will start to become numb. And then it just becomes another thing out there. Oh, one more thing. And then you come and you listen to people who say, well, you know, that's really, you know, that's just how it is. That's destiny. That's karma. And if you speak like that, you need to be aware that actually your trauma is speaking, that something in you is so numb already, and numbness is an expression of trauma. So my invitation is be active and be in silence. Find groups with whom you can communicate, where you can share what's going on inside of you, how Russia impacts you, or how, you know, droughts impact you, whatever it is. So I think in the sharing groups, integration can happen, and just by listening to each other, you know, and we also have the listening circle that we offer. So there could be a place where you can come and just share. So, but both is needed in my judgment. Now I thought, before we go into our chanting, and I love our chant, I would like to move us a little bit, because the content was pretty heavy. It is a heavy content that we covered today. So I like for those who can come up standing. It will not be too intense. It will be just moving the earth beneath us and connecting. Yes, you might not see my head right now, but I want you just to simply stand with your feet and just for a moment close your eyes and connect to the ground beneath you. So as we always say, we come from the earth, We live from the earth, we go back to the earth. Earth is what carries us. We walk on Mother Earth's belly. Yeah, and I want you just right now to imagine that there are roots coming out of the soles of your feet. And you allow these roots to really deepen into the center of Mother Earth's belly. Creating a connection and strengthening the sense of belonging and feeling her beneath us and in the soles of our feet. Because as Nirmala shared, we have to become the voice for our earth. Because we are the ones who have the resources who can take this on right now. Others have to fight for their lives, or they're in starvation, they're in survival. They don't have that space that we all have. So now I just want you to lift your big toes and then bring it back down onto earth. Just lift your big toe and then drop it. Feeling a slight separation from the earth, but then reconnect. Good. So our earth element is located in the soles of our feet, goes all the way up towards our sacrum. And our feet are the farthest away from our crown chakra, from our brain. So there's a lot of connection necessary and communication right now. Now I want you just to keep your big toes down and you lift all the other toes up and down. And just do this movement in alignment with your breath. Good. For those who have a little balance issue this morning, for the next one, I invite you to hold on to a table, chair, or a wall. I want you to come slowly all the way up onto your toes, and then you roll back gently onto your heels. So you lift your toes off the ground. Now you have to be responsible here. Sometimes, we are not that balanced. So you just come up and you roll back. You can hold on to something in the front and just spread your toes as much as you can. What really holds us on this earth is Mother Earth with her gravity. If there were no gravity, we would be flying through the universe right now. And if we envision that we are on this globe, and with immense speed, we are racing through the universe, and the only thing that connects us to the planet beneath us is gravity. And it's also the first part when our body prepares to depart. It's the element that we are losing. Yeah, so the connection to the earth is what keeps us here. Good, last 3. Good. Now we would stop and we just have our toes of our left foot on the ground, and we do big rotations with our left ankle, breathing deeply. Imagining that the earth element gets stimulated, rotated, like she's rotating. The last 2 rotations into this direction. And then we reverse. And especially in this time where we want to be spiritual activists, it has to be grounded in us. Yeah, so we need to be centered and grounded so that we can be in action but not reactivated. It's a huge distinction. Good. Let's switch. Right foot. Big rotations. On the top of your toes. Move through it. I hope, Dawn, this is working for you. Last two into this direction. Reverse. We are actually just setting the foundation within us right now. Good. So from here, you can have your feet like hip width apart, fingers around your knees. You know, don't press down on your knees. That's too much for them. Just really wrap your fingers around and move the knees towards each other, out to the side and back. Find your breath here. Despite the fact that we stimulate the earth element, we also work for our joint health right now, which is important for our brain health. Because we want to have fluidity within us and no restrictions. Reverse the direction. And if you can't stand, for example, you can do all these movements, you know, on sitting on a chair. Good. Now, if you can have the inside of your feet fully touched, look down and see if they are touching. This will challenge your balance center. If it's too much, separate your feet just a little bit. Both knees go into the same direction. Good, and then we reverse. This is a really healthy thing to do for all of us, especially when we grow up. We want to keep our joints healthy and happy. It's like oiling our joints. Good, and come to center. And the last movement for this morning, bring your hands around your waist. Feet are more than hip width apart. You can have your toes pointing out or forward. That's really up to your liking. So now I want you to bring your hips to the left as much as you can. My torso stays up. And then I bring my hips forward to the right and back. Big, big, big hip rotations. So I'm not bringing my torso down. I'm keeping my eyes forward, just my hips. Deep breath here. You can inhale through your nose, exhale, open mouth. Reverse the direction. Last 3. Beautiful. Walk your feet together. And then find a nice sitting posture, any way you prefer. On the heels, cross-legged, on the chair. And Nirmala posted in our chat our mantra words, the Om Mani Padme Hum. So this morning I thought, because we had talked about the earth, that would be wonderful to sit, if you like, in the Priviti Mudra, to bring the tip of your thumb to the tip of your ring fingers. All other fingers are straight up. So the fire in your thumb now balances the earth and stabilizes within you.
Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om 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 Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani
Placing our hands in our lap. Right hand on top of the left, tip of our thumbs are touching. Allowing ourselves to drop into the silence for a moment. And from here, we're bringing our palms together in front of the heart center. And just taking a moment before we do the Aum Shanti Shanti to feel into our V space. And including into the V space those that are not on the Zoom this morning. Maybe we can expand our V space to many more people. Let's take a deep inhale. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May we have peace of mind, feel peace in our heart. May we spread all the fragrance of peace out into the world. Namaste.